What's our third main topic today?
Next is from Debbie Marcus. Fans are weird little creatures. Literally, everyone I know has loved this season of Game of Thrones, but I'm always hearing about how many people hate it. Then I read tonight that the series finale had the highest ratings in HBO history and averaged 10 million more viewers per episode than last season. So if so many people started bitching about it last season, why did more and more and more of them tune in with each and every episode this season?
Yeah, so some remarkable numbers just came out about Game of Thrones that, quite frankly, staggered me. Not terribly surprising, the Game of Thrones series finale ranked as the most watched live episode thing on HBO in its history. What was a little bit surprising, Rob, was what the prior record holder was. You got to go all the way back to Sopranos season 4 premiere. That was the highest rated thing HBO had ever had, which is kind of weird when you think about all the stuff HBO has had up to now. But the finale had that. And on top of that, this is the number. She mentioned this briefly in the email there, but the most staggering number to me, Rob, was that when they took total viewership of per episode thing, that total viewership this season went up almost 25%. They averaged this season more than 10 million more viewers per episode than they even did in season 7. And it does raise an interesting question, because there were a lot of people who did complain about season 7 and said, this isn't any good. It's like, well, you don't expect massive rating spikes, because these weren't nominal spikes. These are massive jumps in viewership. And you would think if really a large number of people really were dissatisfied with something, you'd probably assume viewership would go down a little bit. We've seen Walking Dead lose their numbers as the series has progressed and stuff like that. You would think if people were really dissatisfied, they would go down. Not stay the same, not go up, and certainly not go up by massive jumps like it has. It's a very odd thing, because there are a lot of people who have been dissatisfied with season 7 and season 8. So I would think that the numbers might have dipped a touch. Final season maybe goes up a bit. Over 10 million more per episode. Like, that's ridiculous. And probably yet another reason why HBO is probably panicking right now that the series is done. Anyway, Rob, you see these numbers. What's your first response to seeing numbers like this, which are just ridiculous?
Well, we always talk about the rise of streaming services. I think a lot more people had access to HBO now, whether it's HBO Now or HBO Go.
Point.
And there's people, they've had 2 years to catch up.
Exactly.
I think Game of Thrones has built up a much larger reputation. And look, while season 7, people might have complained about how fast people can fly from one place to another in Westeros on a dragon's back, I think really I liked season 7 quite a bit. And I think that we who live in this online punditry world and talk about these things, we're a minority. I think the general public, the general population, most of the planet has really enjoyed Game of Thrones. And even from my perspective, it's now, 73 episodes long?
Yeah, however many.
And I didn't like 3 episodes this season, so I like 70 episodes of the show. That's a pretty good track record for any piece of entertainment. And I think that even the fact that people are so passionate about the ending one way or another shows how much this show has permeated the pop culture zeitgeist, and it was truly an event. And it doesn't surprise me that these numbers have gone up, because again, more people have access than ever before to HBO, and they binge watch it. This was a cultural event.
It really was. It was something that kind of permeated. And I know, Ash, like, you never missed an episode of this. Like, I don't know anybody that missed any sort of episodes on this. It's like, and it almost became, the viewing parties for Game of Thrones weren't new, but it seemed like it became every single episode this year. Because I know you said you've had viewing parties, right, Ash? Like, you've had groups of friends coming over.
And I've gone to them. I mean, my friend had like a 70-person viewing party for the series finale. But exactly what Rob was saying, like, my initial reaction to that was just time. Like, people time and hype. Like, people have had so much time to catch up on a show for the first time, because like sometimes it's kind of daunting if there's like 7 seasons and you're like, I don't want to watch it, I'm never going to catch up. But they had a huge break between the last season, so a bunch of my friends that weren't even into Game of Thrones, they watched the entire series just so they could watch this final season collectively as like a cultural phenomenon with the rest of us. So I mean, maybe some other shows should follow suit and take more time in between their seasons. I don't know.
They took more time to give us less episodes.
I know.
I'm still not happy about
But
that,
still.
regardless of how we cut that